Hello, everyone. My name is Ceirra. I'm a BQH practitioner, divine blueprint activator, and empowerment coach.
Hi, guys. I'm Carrie. I'm the Quantum Gypsy. I'm a BQH practitioner and a lover of life, a new puppy mom, all these wonderful things.
So today we are going to continue on page 4 down. We are on number 20 and going through the miracles. So we're going to go through the miracles, continue this page, and then we're going to go over to lesson 2 because we started to do the lessons with you guys. I think the lessons are just an incredible way to actually start to reprogram your mind and look at some of the conditioning and imprints that you've been left with on this journey of life.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, we'll leave the link down below for you guys to purchase the Course of Miracles yourself if you want to go ahead and do it on your own. I mean, I think this is something you can go through multiple times and get different layers of it each time. And we're just enjoying, we're not teachers of this by any means. We're just talking about it, talking about the ideas, brainstorming. It's always fun to have somebody to ground these conversations with and be like, I feel like this, or I feel like that, or bring a different perspective. Just because it's all about, living this beautiful, free, loving, abundant life. And we all deserve it. We're all worthy of it. And so if this is a tool in the toolbox to help us get there, to quiet the mind and understand it more from the soul, then we're doing it. We're all in. Okay, so we're going to start at 19. Miracles make minds one in God. They depend on cooperation because the sonship is the sum of all that God created. Miracles, therefore, reflect the laws of eternity, not time. So, if love makes your mind one in God, the sonship is the sum of all that God created. The sonship is still one that I'm exploring and trying to understand better. Do you have any insight to what you feel like the sonship is?
When I see the sonship, I see as like the fractals of souls from God. So we're all, as individuals, we're all a part of the same sonship
So
because
it'd be
we're
like
all a son of God.
brotherhood, sisterhood.
Exactly.
Okay, all right.
Like God's children. That's what I understand it to be.
It's the sum of all that God created. And it depends on cooperation. So we all got to work together.
We'll get there. Hopefully.
And how miracles reflect the laws of eternity, not time.
So I'm kind of getting a download right now where the sonship are like the individual souls that are working in their atonement, that have found like their connection to God, that know that they are a child of God and now are in their atonement.
That makes sense. It's bringing it for me when they talk about in the Bible, like how there's 100 sheep, the flock of sheep. And although 99 made it to safety, there, like, God still goes for that one who's left behind. And I think how, if we all work together, like, I think it's great that that there may be a mass group of people who got the aha moments, but as long as there's still that one that's our sister or brother that's left behind, we're still not there yet. And that's the cooperation we have to realize, like, there, although evolution, we want to win and to be number one and all of those things. But if there's still that brother or sister that's down and out, and like, we should still apply and allow the information. And what helped us is share in a loving way that information to help that other person.
Yeah, and I think that's why I'm so passionate about giving people the tools that helped me so much, because I want to see people succeed. And I do think that that is a really important shift that we're starting to see. I think we're really starting to see a shift from the separation, egotistic mindset and more into community and living from a place of love and opening our hearts to other people. And I think you can just see that like a lot of like spiritual teachers, they're more popular than ever before. I do feel like I went to Florida and everybody was so nice. Everyone is so nice and friendly, and like I was just so welcomed there. It was so beautiful, and I think that that is something that we're starting to see more. And I think we get very caught up in like the awakening of like it's not happening yet, but we have to focus on like those small um just the small things that we can do for people, those small miracles that we witness every single day, because things are changing and it's so beautiful if you step back and witness it.
Yeah. And, I think that to do it from a loving place and from, not a forceful, because sometimes people have this wisdom, but they're sharing it with someone who's not soliciting it from them in a very forceful way. So if I don't come to you and I'm not like, hey, Ceirra, what are you doing that's working so well for you? But I'm like, I'm just coming to you and I'm like, I'm scared. I don't know what to, like I just am in this place. And you're like, this is what works. This is the only way that works. And so then it's not received well. I think we also have to look at how we share. And sometimes it's not even about sharing. It's just about loving. Like the whole town that you went to, they just welcomed you. And then you're like, well, what's working for you guys? And then they can share that information, and they're like, we've got dolphins and manatees. What doesn't? But still, I think it's also about, because sometimes people are so afraid for other people that they end up forcefully sharing, and I think it discourages the other person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Miracles reawaken the awareness that the spirit, not the body, is the altar of truth. This is the recognition that leads to the healing power of the miracle.
Yeah, when we start to tap into the unlimited potential of our soul, and we know we have that gnosis that we are divine and we are eternal, then that is when we create the space for miracles to happen.
Listen, whenever they make a drug, they have to produce testing. And a lot of those testings, they call it the placebo effect. And they do testing on random people and they have to report out if this drug really worked or if it was really a placebo effect and people just thought they were getting the drug and were healed off of that. And you'd be amazed if you look at those testings, how many people were healed off of the placebo effect just of the fact that they thought they were getting the medication to heal them. And I think that's so powerful of our soul's belief in why Joe Dispenza work and everything, meditation, just doing that type of meditation works is because your soul's potential is infinite. So of course, the placebo effect would work because our mind, believes it.
Yeah, and I love that it says miracles reawaken the awareness that the spirit is the altar of truth. And I feel like once you get past your analytical mind and you start to actually feel your spirit and you start to actually feel your divinity, when you can no longer deny that there's something else there, that is really when things start to change, because then you're like, well, my analytical mind made me sick and it made me unhealthy and I was in addiction and I had chronic illness. And when we start to tap into just like that pure unconditional love that we all have access to, then that's when we start to heal.
Yeah. And have you ever seen the well, I guess the power of words, right, is what that goes with. But when they do the testing on the plants and they say really nice things to one plant, they say really neutral things to another plant, and they say really negative things to the other plant, and the negative plant just dies. It's like, what do I got to live for? It's like, because I think, we just have to be very careful of what we say and the thoughts that we put in this world.
Yeah, and now I feel like we're starting to see that plant experiment in the collective of humanity, where you're starting to see the polarity of the people that are still thinking negatively, that are acting negatively, that are in that polarization versus like the people that are starting to be more healthy and more conscious of the way that they're thinking. And so now that plant experiment has actually become very literal in human beings as well.
Yeah, I mean, I am not the most physically active. I am striving to get there. My mind tells me it does not like working out. And so I don't let my soul experience that. But I can go into other towns, like when I go to the San Francisco with my son, that is a very healthy, physically fit town. The people around, very physically fit, they're very active. And I feel out of place because I'm like, I stick out like a sore thumb. Because you're just in a different place and a different vibration, and but it also gives me something to aspire to be, right? Just kind of that same thing, like you go to a different place where they're enveloped in different ways of being and you see a different way of life. um Miracles are natural signs of forgiveness. Through miracles you accept God's forgiveness by extending it to others. Amen.
Yeah, I agree. I think that if we can show people love that have hurt us, it's not that like we're saying what they did was okay. It's just saying that I'm no longer going to allow that person to have an effect on me for their actions. And so when we can come to a place of unconditional love and just see the higher perspective from it, um, I think it's really powerful for us to forgive others and to forgive ourselves for some of the things that we did.
Well, I mean, I feel like it has to actually come internal. Like if I can't forgive myself, I can't forgive my friend. I can't forgive my family. I can't forgive the person I don't even know. So I think it's just like you have to forgive yourself. But I think of the saying, it doesn't mean it's okay. Actually, what they did was absolutely okay because it got me to a place where I could be given the opportunity to forgive them. And so I think instead of us even putting this negative thing on what they did, but like it must have been hard, whatever they went through to create that situation, and I'm grateful that I learned something from it. I'm grateful that I was given the opportunity to show love. I'm grateful that, all these things happened because of it. And then I don't look at it as that messy thing that may have happened, but I look at it as this beautiful unveiling of a gift, of an opportunity of love for me. And so I think that's really where we should all go.
Yeah, I think forgiveness is so important in healing. And I'm really glad. I feel like the Course in Miracles is also like just a course in forgiveness, how to forgive ourselves and how to forgive other people. Because once we can release all those cords that we're attaching ourselves to, it brings us into the present moment, and it just allows us to live from a greater place of love.
Yeah. And what if your forgiveness is something they've never experienced before? So you somehow got into a contract with them or an experience with them where you both played these roles, and your forgiveness was the aha moment of them understanding that people were loving and kind and were able to forgive. And so, I was talking to my dad this weekend about this too, and I said, there's one person in my life, my aunt, who when I can sit in a room and talk completely loving about her, I know I've made it. I know I'm to the place I need to be, because I can do that about so many people that have wronged me or what I perceived as wrong in my life. I've gotten to that healing place with them, but she's the final exam for me. So when I can sit and talk completely loving of her and don't let intrusive thoughts come in, I know I've made it. So that's my goal.
I love that you made that point though, because right now, especially with the awakening in humanity happening, we have all done things in our survival and in the 3D that maybe we never thought we'd do, or maybe we felt like we had to do it out of survival. And so I think that there are a lot of people right now that need that forgiveness, that need to be shown that like it's okay that you did that when you were in those circumstances. So now it's like, how do you learn from it and make different choices?
Yeah.
I think more people need that. More people than ever need that right now.
And it's freeing when you take that burden, you take that big old heavy load you've been carrying around in that pack of life, and you take it out and you just let it fly in the like doves, you're walking around so much more lighter, so much more free, and it's a gift for yourself as much as it is for them. So I think that's a very powerful, just two sentences in that one. Miracles are associated with fear only because of the belief that darkness can hide. You believe that what your physical eyes cannot see does not exist. This leads to a denial of spiritual sight.
Yeah, so this just reminds me of, well, my mind goes two places. Like, a lot of it is just empowerment and being able to release fear, the fear that all of us are just being bombarded with every single day, like when we watch the news and things like that. But then the other place in my mind goes is like people really don't realize, like I didn't realize it, especially before my awakening. This is a spiritual world. Like we're taught that it's, I was raised very atheist. I was just raised that this is your experience, and when you die maybe your body will turn into a tree. That was really what I grew up with. And so um people don't realize that this is a spiritual world, and if you get glimpses of it, it can be terrifying because you don't understand it and it's the complete unknown. And so finding, not only do you have to release fear of what's happening in the world in your 3D reality, then you're opened up to this entire new spiritual world that can be scary too. But then you realize that like you were so more, you were more safe than you ever could have realized in both of those worlds, because you are eternal and you are unlimited. And so the fear is the biggest illusion of all.
I think darkness is the biggest teacher that we have. And it, when it's saying that the fear is that darkness can hide, and really it can't hide, right? Darkness just is there just as much, when the prevalence of light, the darkness is there as well, but I think that it's just like to always be polarized and running away from something because it's dark or looks icky or feels grimy or is uncomfortable. Like that's when we're really in our state, we can exist in both places, in a place of love, and just see the higher perspective and understand it. And I think that when we start looking at darkness as a teacher, then you get excited if you're wanting to be a student of life to master those lessons. So you'll not so much welcome it, but when you see it, you're just like, I see you. All right, I got a lesson coming up. What is it? What's around the corner for me. But I think when you get more into that mode of just being the student of life, then it's not a fearful thing. You can play with it.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I just love BQH so much, is because we all have trauma. We all have things that happen to us that if we stay the victim, then it's just so painful. And it's like, why did this happen to me? Why did this have to happen? Why doesn't this happen to anybody else? We get very caught up in the pain of the trauma, or we've just become so numb to the trauma we don't even know what to do with it. And that's just why I love BQH so much, is because it allows you to see the higher perspective of why those traumas happened, so that you can learn from them and you can release them and release the emotions that you have around them to be free from it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I feel like life will only give you as much pressure as needed to learn the lesson. So if we're feeling very pressurized and we're feeling like a lot of things are not going our way, that's because we've been given these opportunities to learn these lessons at many different cycles in our life, and we chose not to, or we just flopped or whatever, right? But so now they're coming back in a pressurized way because that's the amount of pressure that's needed for you to experience that and to have that breakthrough moment. So if you're feeling a lot of those things and pressurized, I would take note and try to be a bigger student of life in that moment as possible, because then it will prevent you from having it all come down on you later.
Yeah, I think I think it's human nature to like just want to be comfortable and to put things off. And so yeah, we definitely allow things to build up in our life until the chronic illness does happen or cancer happens, and these things build up in our body and create actual physical health issues for us. And then that's when people start to change. But you don't have to wait for that moment. You can start making healthy changes now.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, Miracles rearrange perception and place all levels in true perspective. This is healing because sickness comes from confusing the levels. Let me read that again. Miracles rearrange perception and place all levels in true perspective. So, our perception is the illusion, and the miracle, which is love, it brings it back to what is truth.
Yeah, that's exactly what we were just talking about with BQH, where we have levels of perception. And so if we're sitting down in are the lower perceptions of why did this trauma happen, the pain of it, then we are going to be in those lower vibrations, and it's going to be a lot harder for us to get through that trauma. But if we can get to the higher perspective, to the higher spiritual levels of it, then that's when we can turn it into wisdom. We can transmute it and alchemize it into wisdom so that we can use it as miracles in our own life and miracles for other people. Because once you've learned how to transmute that trauma, then you can be like, hey, I did this and this is how you can do it too.
So I think when we put in our tall order, when they're like, okay, you're going to head on to planet Earth. What do you want? What do you want to go master? Like, you have all these abilities. What do you want to do? And they're like, I want to master on Earth because it's going to be super easy because I love everybody. I want to master forgiveness and I want to master patience. And they're like, okay, but you're going to have a lot of obstacles that come your way to really show through that your soul knows that mastery. And you're like, it's going to be fine. So you get here, tons of people wrong you, give you tons of opportunity to reconnect with that natural ability of that great forgiveness that you have to offer. And they're going to test your patience one after the other to show and let that gift of that patience. But you're going to forget all about those great abilities you have on the other side. And it's like, come on now.
I know. What better way to really know that you have it than to forget that you have it and then reuse it?
And we don't just come in and like forgive everyone off the bat, right? Like we are like, we're given that illusion of separateness, and then we're given all these opportunities where people wrong us, and then it's like we have to show that we're forgiving. It's not like, oh, we're just going to let you be a loving, forgiving person. No, you have to have the lessons to remember who you truly are.
Yeah.
So I don't know, just such is life. Miracles enable you to heal the sick and raise the dead because you made sickness and death yourself and can therefore abolish both. You are a miracle capable of creating in the likeness of your creator. Everything else is your own nightmare and does not exist. Only the creations of light are real. I can attest to this.
I know, what a beautiful one to end on. Like, I
Yeah.
feel like that truly just speaks for itself. Like, we create our own nightmare, our analytical minds and our thoughts that we allow to just run away from us. It's just as it's suffering. We've attached ourselves to something and allowed it to have some kind of control and grip over us.
There was a time in my journey where I was so afraid. My marriage ended. My mom got sick. My family relationships just went to shit, basically. I was so fearful, like a rabid animal. Like I was running in fear from everything because I was just afraid that everything I knew was destroyed. And I attracted so much of that in my life. And by being in that state of being and being so like I look at myself like I was an animal that was just caught in a storm and people were trying to catch me and I was just running from everybody, kicking people, just trying to escape. And I created my own reality of fear. And the more and more I just took those moments to heal, to understand what I was going through, and took empowering role of being, who I truly am, is that now I can create my own life as the creator. Like we have that ability. We have that ability to everything that God has to offer. We have that ability to access that. And so it's just a beautiful reminder to me of how far I've come, and that to take responsibility for every choice I've made, even the good ones.
So when they say miracles enable you to heal the sick and raise the dead, do you think they're talking about our ability to heal each other through love, but also like how powerful we are just on a spiritual level?
I think once we get to the point where we understand the illusion of the mind, truly, in an like truly understand it. Like there's one thing to it's like, oh yeah, that sounds right. And there's one thing to just have that like that unwavering knowing. Once we have that unwavering knowing of it within our soul that the mind is separate, that's when we can unlock those things.
Yeah, I've been going through this thing lately where like my spiritual abilities keep turning up even more. And I just walk around every day and I'm like, these people have no idea how powerful they are. Because some days, like, it really does feel like I have superpowers. And just to know that like, this is the capability of a human being is still so shocking to me and so beautiful. Like, I'm like, we are so much more powerful than we ever could have realized. And when we start to like open our spiritual abilities from a place of love, it's incredible. And I'm so excited for more people to start to access these things.
Yeah, I mean, I'm grateful for this conversation today because this past excuse me, my truth is coming out obviously. It's like uh, this past week with my son going back to school and just that separateness, I was starting to let that dialogue of the negative thoughts come in, and just coming back to having this conversation has reminded me of the beauty in it all. So I'm just grateful that I have you to talk to and to remind me to stay dedicated to the practice of figuring it all out within my soul, how to navigate this world. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, same here. I feel like I definitely was going through some things this last week too. And so it's so refreshing because the Course of Miracles is bringing us back to what is so important. And I feel like I've healed a lot of things like I still love the Galactics and I still love like the Starseed Awakening. I still love like the Kabbalion and some of those like um other things that I was introduced to in spirituality. Like now I can just really hold the space of love for all of it. But I'm very appreciative of the Course in Miracles because it's bringing us back to like what is truly important and just reminding us that even when you get caught up in things like that, you're still a child of God and you're still a part of this sonship and you still have this ability to create miracles for other people.
Yep, I agree. Okay, so we're going to go to lesson 2 in the back. It starts off and says, I have given everything I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place, all the meaning that it has for me. The exercises with this idea are the same as though of the first one. Begin with the things that are near you and apply the idea to whatever your glance rests on. Then increase the range outward. Turn your head so that you include whatever is on either side. If possible, turn around and apply the idea to what was behind you. Remain as indiscriminate as possible in selecting subjects for its application, and do not concentrate on anything in particular. And do not attempt to include everything you see in a given area, or you will introduce strain. Merely glance easily and fairly quickly around you, trying to avoid selection by size, brightness, color, material, or relative importance to you. Take the subjects simply as you see them. Try to apply the exercise with equal ease to a body or a button or a fly or a floor, an arm, an apple. The sole the sole criterion for applying the idea to anything is merely that your eyes have lighted on it. Make no attempt to include anything particular, but be sure that nothing is specifically excluded. Okay, I'm going to read the thing again after you have that information. I have given everything I see in this room, on this street, from this window, in this place, all the meaning that it has for me. I think that just goes to perception, like the eyes of perception. Like you've created value and not having value of positive or negative on everything you see.
Yeah, I really liked this one. It made me feel very calm and okay. Like I think the first one it triggered me more, but then this one I was like, okay, this is just me putting my perception onto everything that I see.
Mm-hmm. Like if someone shows you something and says, "Isn't it beautiful?" and you're like, "I'm not moved." It's just like that. They created this value and they value it, but you may not see the same value, but how we all perceive it to such a different level, and how it all starts with ourselves. So just as we create those values and those views, we have the power to align it to truly what it was meant to be by the creator.
Yeah, and I love these lessons so much because they're so powerful and they only take a couple minutes every single day to do.
Absolutely. Well, today's been wonderful. We appreciate you guys sharing your time with us, and just let us know in the comment section if anything resonated, if anything's coming up for you, and visit us on Patreon, or you can visit our websites for a BQH session. We have all kinds of fun little goodies. Get a Divine Blueprint by Ceirra. Trust me, it'll unlock some amazing things for you. And just thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, so come and join us on patreon.com/quantum awakening portal. This month is going to be so much fun because we're doing a live channeling, and then we are also going to do my spiritual reset at the end of this month. And so I will be releasing more videos about that in the next couple weeks to invite all of you to that, because I think we all need a spiritual reset to see what is most important in our lives.
All right, guys, have a great week.
Bye.